Om Swastiastu. Thank you for making the effort to be here tonight, despite weather not too friendly these 3 days in Bali, although not probably not catastrophic, but still terrifying. Bali not really experienced too many catastrophic events, I guess. So today we gonna talk about Sarasvatī, but to begin with, I'd love to introduce the series of days that Balinese celebrate these few days, starting on Saturday, 8th February, we have Sarasvatī Day, the Day of Knowledge. Follow the next day after, always been like this. So the day after, the Sunday, 9th February, we have Banyu Pinaru. I translate it as the purifying water of knowledge. That is the day where many Balinese will go to the beach and do purification ritual. Many will also do in wellspring, so on. And today, called Somoribak. I didn't know how to translate that beautiful, but literally that means Monday of fullness. So this is Monday and Ribak of fullness. And in today we have Pagarwisi or iron fence. So these days are a sequence, not just Sarasvatī, not just Pagarwisi, but these days kind of sequence that mark the end and the beginning of Balinese time cycle. So Sarasvatī Day marked the end of the cycle in Balinese calendar. So that's something I contemplate for a moment. Why would the day of knowledge, let's say, mark the end of time? Well, probably it has something to do with how jnana or wisdom, knowledge, is the end of kala, time. It is said that in philosophical books, Balinese esoteric books, that the experience of time is caused by avidya, ajnana. When someone has jnana, they see reality as it is. So they experience reality as it is. So ajnana will be the opposite of it. Say for example, me, I experience only a fraction of reality, not the fullness of reality. The fraction that I experience, absolutely what I can experience through my body and through my mind. So I'm still entrapped in ajnana. Interesting thing about Sarasvatī Day, that is a day when you prohibited from learning. Well, this bugging my mind for a while back when I was younger. How else best we could celebrate the day of knowledge than by learning? So I don't think that makes any sense. Well, I get that we put the book. So during the Sarasvatī, Balinese will put offering on the books, on the scripture, because books or scripture are considered the physical embodiment of Sarasvatī. It's the vessel of knowledge. So this is the day when we pay homage, refer the vessel of the knowledge. Maybe that is the reason why we are not allowed to learn or read during Sarasvatī Day. I mean, it still not make any sense because we didn't put the offering and the ritual didn't last for more than 10 minutes. So why the afterward not? when I less young and probably less foolish, I think the reason is because we are asked to put a pause to absorb external information. Well, you can say unlearn, but you can also say to let our mind and our heart to process what we already know. So if I didn't really put a pause in learning, probably that's just cause more confusion than planting wisdom inside of me. So Sarasvatī, in Balinese tradition, we all know that Sarasvatī is a name for a deity, and it's interesting because it's not really play a major part for all Balinese, because Balinese religion is still highly patriarchal, so the role of goddesses not really play a major role. But as a goddess, Sarasvatī is a patron deity for ancient and contemporary sage poet or kawiwiku. So almost every, well, not every, but most of kawiwiku will have Sarasvatī as their deity, their Istadewata. Well, not shocking, because another name for Sarasvatī is Wagiswari, Queen of Words, thus become the deity for poet. Kind of fitting. But Sarasvatī is also name of enlightenment, and I still, well, this is something that for me eye-opening to some extent after reading a Mangala, an opening verses of a text called Dharma Shunya, in which the poet prayed that the reader and himself to be Sarasvatī. So the word Saras means flows. So the knowledge that he would like to transfer will flows through words. That is why the name Sarasvatī also used as a name of rivers, because, well, rivers flows, and hopefully words also, not just any word, but a good word, and a word that have power to awaken. That is the opening prayer of the work. And not just that, Sarasvatī also goddess of aesthetic, art, of beauty. Thus, through his word, he hoped that it will invoke beauty in everyone who will listen to the word. So the making of kekawin, or one of the type of Balinese poetic work, is less an act of writing and more a contemplative practice, I would say, a meditative practice, because it involves a lot of ritual, a lot of invocation, a lot of mantra and so on. And of course, because Sarasvatī is also the queen, the goddess of words, Sarasvatī believed to be present in that work, and thus the treatment for scripture, a palm leaf scripture, Balinese traditional scripture, is way different than regular books, than paper-based book, because the art of making it is different. It's considered sacred. So the goddess of knowledge, Saraswati is goddess, an anthropomorphic form of a goddess, the wife of Brahma, and so on. But in Bali, Saraswati also used as a name for some kind of initiation ritual. So before somebody want to learn a spiritual teaching, before somebody want to explore, to venture to spiritual knowledge, to wisdom tradition, the least they should have done in the beginning is take Saraswati initiation, to be initiated by the goddess of knowledge. What we see from the word is its physical appearance, its physical reality. We see form, we see colors, and so on. But in physics, I'm not really expert in this, but I try to draw some kind of parallel here. I hope you're following. So in physics, there is a deeper layer of reality, atomic reality, in which form, like we see it, cease to exist. Now in Tantra, mantra is something, or bija mantra is something like the atom or wave, which become the basic foundation of reality. That is the knowledge that Aji Saraswati scripture tried to tell us. The knowledge about sonic layers of reality, I would say. Because Tantra, again, is about sonic theology, sonic mysticism, and so on. So Saraswati could have different meaning. It become a goddess, it become a certain type of ritual, it becomes a certain type of knowledge, it also becomes certain type of bliss or enlightenment. So again, what's to embody? Well, this is just something that I learned from elementary school apparently. So we in Bali are Hindus, and we have Hindu subject in our curriculum. So from the very beginning, we've somehow become so religious. And I remember when I was in elementary school, there is a topic about the symbolism of Saraswati that you probably have heard before. That Saraswati have certain iconographic elements in which it talks, it delivers a message. This is also interesting and to some extent cross-cultural, because it's rare that Balinese deity, Balinese Hindu deity have the same iconographic element with Indian deities. Be it Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma, usually different. But Saraswati have exactly the same iconographic element. First, Saraswati depicted as beautiful goddess. Well, probably all goddess in Hindu tradition is beautiful in its own way, but Saraswati particularly depicted as beautiful goddess. Not even Brahma, the creator, could resist her beauty. So that's how beautiful she is, according to mythology. Apparently, beauty have many things to do with temptation. We human beings crave beauty. Men crave beautiful women, vice versa. Men and women crave beautiful things, beautiful home, beautiful car, beautiful artworks, beautiful anything, including beautiful teachings, beautiful spiritual teachings, or more precisely, spiritual teaching that we feel beautiful because beauty is in the eye of beholder for sure, but we still crave for beautiful teachings. And again, beauty is some kind of bright light that could be intoxicating. Not because beauty inherently intoxicating or bad, but apparently we didn't equip or didn't capable to handle it too much. So spiritual teaching is beautiful, and its beauty can make us forget ourselves, while the essence of spirituality is about remembrance. So it's counterproductive with spirituality itself. That is the dark side of beauty, I suppose. And again, because we're not skillful to handle beauty. The other iconographic element of Sarasvatī is scripture. Well, symbol of knowledge is obvious. Also symbol of learning, intellect, and so on. When we want to learn about something, we take a book, we read a book, but in this context, it's not just about books, it's about books, guru. So this is representation of agama pramana, the source of knowledge from external sources, guru or sastra or books, and so on. Things that once probably inaccessible for many people now can easily be found in a bookstore. I mean, Ubud is the mecca of yoga. Yoga is once an esoteric tradition, accessed only for selected few, but now even the most secret yogic scripture already explained in a book. Take for example Kundalini and so on. A passage from the same poetic work, Dharma Shunya. I really hold dear to this work, this ancient work. Pop up in my mind, and that is God, let's just say God, or ultimate reality can't be found on the scripture. Buddha said it, to treat a finger that point to the moon as the moon itself. So it's not just a finger that point to the moon, but as the moon itself. And that is why probably we couldn't find the ultimate reality of God or whatever you want to call it in the scripture, because scripture is only a finger that point to the moon, not the actual moon. It taught me a lot about, again, my psychology, my spiritual psychology, the dynamic of my psyche, how I treat a teaching that make it a moon instead of a finger that point to the moon. And Sarasvatī also hold a musical instrument, Veena it's called. And what I probably want to share with you is my reading of Carl Jung's opinion about difference between Western and Eastern way of thinking. The West have an overdeveloped conscious mind, overdeveloped intellectual, and East have probably overdeveloped intuitive way of knowing. At least in Bali, we are so intuitive. Many of us are so intuitive to the point where many of us become delusional about spirituality. Where because we not quite used to think critically. So Sarasvatī holds scripture which represent intellect, which represent conscious mind, also hold a veena musical instrument which represent intuitive way of knowing. And the basic epistemological method in Hindu-Buddhist tradition consists of both absorbing external information and internal inquiry, internal discernment, and experience to prove the information, to prove our understanding. And then rosary, symbol of continuity and discipline. So learning is a lifelong process. However, we feel arrive to the point that I feel enough. Not in a good way, but I feel like I know already. I know everything already. So I stop because why? Because we feel like we already know all. We already arrive at the ultimate or get the ultimate answer. Well, mostly because we'll get used to instant gratification. So we are simply just carried away by this ego feeling good. Lotus is symbol of enlightenment. This is the common to highlight. And then swan is another iconographic element of Sarasvatī. The swan is the vehicle for Sarasvatī. So Sarasvatī rides swan. What the swan signify in yogic texts? It signify breath. It also signify the soul. But in this context, the swan signify discernment because it could separate water from milk. I don't know what the swan do with the milk, but that's why swan said as the symbol of discernment. And I think this is relevance more than before, especially in this era of AI and misinformation and too much information to discern good information from bad one. And I believe this is a skill that we need to develop. So that is the symbolism, the iconographic element of Sarasvatī. This is something that we need to embody. So I think I paid my debt to describe, to embody Sarasvatī means to embody this characteristic, these traits. And to embody it's not simply to just know about it, but to develop our skill on it. In pre-modern era or pre-colonial era, information is a luxury. Not everyone could afford. But today, my friends say that this is a time where expertise died. We no longer, most of people probably, no longer rely on experts, but they rely on their Instagram influencer and so on. So to develop discernment is quite challenging in this time because too much to discern. I've been talking here 56 minutes, so I think I would end it right here, and I hope that I have delivered a good time for you, because this time my talk is certainly feel good for me. I didn't mean that it's true for sure, but it feels good for me because somehow it's more less effortless. It's more effortless for me.